Hello, my name's Stephen Blows, and I'm here with the forum today discussing my upcoming talk, where I'll be talking about my anthology, Tales of the Forthcoming. And also the evolution of short stories as a whole, using my book as an anchoring point to weave through the different stories throughout time. Three words to describe my book would be fun, conscious, and deep. So by conscious, I mean self-aware. So whether it's being fun or deep, it plays into that, because with an anthology, you have range and you can play with that range. So what inspired me to start writing was my love for films, and that developed after I watched the behind the scenes documentaries of Lord of the Rings. And from that, I started script writing, and from that I've went into story writing, short stories and children picture books, stage plays. Really, that was the development, and I'm just having fun discovering different forms of storytelling. And yeah, it's always good to see the behind the scenes, because you get to see someone else's passion and it will rub off on you. So I hope that people will get escapism. Mostly as a reader myself, that's what I'm looking for. So I hope to give that. Mostly because when you have escapism, it means you've done your job of fully engaging the reader. And you put them into kind of this trance state where they're more aware because they're focusing on the reading, but they're unaware of the messages you can sneak in. So when they're escaped and they're having fun, you can teach them a thing or two about these deeper themes. So I write in the supernatural and sci-fi because it's always good to write what you love, because then it's not as much of a chore. And so since I loved it, I wrote it, and then discovered it's a really versatile genre. So the name Tales of the Forthcoming, I first of all decided on having the word tales in the title, because it has that kind of feel about it, and it matches the anthology. And from there I had to brainstorm. So I think brainstorming is a superpower for writers, because as a writer you have to make choices of what words and what ideas you include. So when you brainstorm, it just makes that process easier. And whenever I'm stuck on a title, I always go to the thesaurus and just browse all the words until eventually one speaks to me. And that's what happened with Forthcoming, and it matches this ominous and foreboding sense that I'm trying to get with the supernatural side. And yeah, it's talking about these futures and the horrors that they can bring. So some of the stories may be fun, some may be a bit more dark, but there's always a warning to read between the lines. So an interesting fact about myself is that I'm an identical twin, and what's good about that is that he can give the talk for me. And no, but what's really good about him is one of my first line of defense as a writer. So I give him my stories, and he has a good eye for entertainment. And since we're similarly matched in our tastes, he's a good person to fall back on. And yeah, I've given him an acknowledgement in the book, as well as a few others. So yeah, thank you to him again. My favourite book, one of my favourites, is Wally Funk's Race to Space, which is about this BBC news reporter and this true story of her going to meet this space aviation hero, Wally Funk. And Wally Funk has an interesting history, because she was part of the Mercury 13 program, which is a group of women who trained to be in the space program but never ended up being given the opportunity, because it was the 60s and we were stuck in the past. But people like Wally Funk were pushing us forward, and hearing this modern perspective of this news reporter going and seeing her, it brings that human element to it. So It would be a book I'd love to end up making into a movie, if I was to given the chance. And yeah, it's one of my favourite books. So I wanted to put an emphasis on short stories on my talk. Basically because, as someone had said to me recently, it's an overlooked format, and as children we're told all these short stories but we forget about them. It's kind of like picture books, we put them down and move on. But they're some of the best writing, and I hope to re-spark of inspiration for anyone listening in the talk. We all engage with short stories every day. If you think about when you just telling your friend or family member what you've been up to, that's a form of short story. And it goes to prove that we're all writers in our own right. So what I love about libraries is that they are a foundation of knowledge and they advocate for learning. So from a very young age, they're engaging with children, with picture book talks, and then later on with author talks like myself. And they offer all these books, you can rent them for free, and I think that's just a wonderful thing. Libraries have all these different services, and whether it's printing or just online help, and I think if people knew about that, they'd come to libraries more. And yeah, we need to protect the libraries. If you'd like to catch more about my book tales of the forthcoming, please come down to the forum in Southend on Saturday the 5th of April, 11 AM. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. I'd love to see you there. Thank you.